Hi, everybody. I'm here with Terri Lewis, and we're talking recruiter enablement. We're talking about what's hot in talent acquisition right now. We're talking about the role of the TA partner and a couple of other things as well. So, Terri, thank you for joining me today. And first of all, give us a quick introduction to you.
Okay, so thank you very much, Adam, for having me here today. So my name's Terri Lewis, for those of you who don't know me. I have been working within talent acquisition now for a little over 25 years. Definitely showing my age on that one. I've probably been quite fortunate to have quite a diverse career in TA, spanning from various sectors such as telecoms, utilities, finance, and now gaming. I've worked with companies such as BT and EE, Barclays, and like I said, now I'm in gaming, which is a company called Ubisoft. My role within Ubisoft, I head up talent acquisitions across the UK studios, which is we have one studio in Newcastle and one in Leamington Spa.
Great. Okay, so let's just start with a big
Hmm.
open question, like what's important in 2025?
So for me, I think some of the hot topics for 2025, to name but a few, probably would be along the lines of the ethical use of AI. I think we've done quite a lot of talks and discussions, and it's very much on the radar about the use of AI and the emergence of AI. But I think 2025 will also be now the discussion around the ethical use of AI, data privacy, transparency, and simply just how we use it.
Yeah.
I think the other hot topics is how the role of what AI is in terms of our assessment process. Yes, absolutely using AI from efficiency point of view, the transactional, the admin heavy work that we do. But I think the AI within assessment practices, that kind of is going to be quite a hot debate and topic. I've kind of been thinking and reflecting on this because there's a lot of conversation, and we've heard it all, where we've been talking about how some companies don't appreciate candidates using AI, whether that's from CV or whether that's from programming or doing tests, or we've even seen how they work in tandem with each other when they're doing an interview. So I think from a recruitment point of view, whether it's talent acquisition and hiring managers, there's a real hot topic there about, well, can candidates use AI in that regard? If yes, what do we need to do to ensure that we're assessing, and really drilling down that they are truly able to demonstrate the right skills, knowledge, and behaviours and experience, and it's coming from their experience, not necessarily being generated by AI. So,
Hmm.
and also, if candidates aren't allowed to use it, well, does that mean recruitment teams aren't allowed to use it? Because we do use it. We use it in some of our practices from automation, and some people use it from sourcing and CV screening. So that's going to be a really hot topic, I think, and an ongoing debate. Um,
I couldn't agree more. And I think it fits in very well with the topic of recruiter enablement because I mean, recruiters might undertake in a typical week, they might undertake 50, 60, 70 processes.
mm,
And we can evaluate all of those processes and we can identify, are some of those easy to automate through artificial intelligence without any particular ethical considerations, like the
mm,
simple administrative type stuff. But
yeah,
then when we get into like, yes, assessing people's CVs, assessing the quality of what their answers in
yeah,
interviews and things like that. There's a lot of challenge in this, and
yeah,
I certainly believe that the TA teams that evaluate this thoroughly are going to thrive and are going to be secure as well and ethical in the way that they
yeah,
use it.
yeah. And absolutely, I think when I reflect back on the last 2 years, it was a shiny new toy,
Yeah.
ChatGPT, and it was great. Everybody was using it and learning how to use it and learning how to do prompts and the right prompts. But But now, fast forward to 2.5 years, I am now thinking about, okay, if I put that CV in a search, or if I do some sourcing, or if I even use my own details and, trying to use that for some presentations or for some research, how more ethically and data privacy and GDPR am I breaking any legislation? Am I not adhering to certain GDPR guidelines? It's now where my focus has really shifted from it being that shiny new toy to, okay, how am I using this and how am my team using it? And I think in terms of working with legislation and legal departments, that hasn't necessarily truly filtered down as of yet, but
Yeah.
it will. Yeah.
Yeah, it feels like 2 years ago we're like a kid in a sweetie shop.
Hmm.
There's so many things, we like them all, but
Yeah.
now we've got a bit more of a menu, and so we can make a bit
Yeah.
more rational choices with more understanding and a slightly smaller selection of ways to go. Because
Yeah.
yeah, 2 years ago it was just like never-ending possibilities, and
Yeah.
where do you start? That's really
Yeah.
challenging.
Yeah. Exactly. And
So
I think the other thing, again, I have to stress amongst many other things, but I think the other thing that I've seen, and we've been having a lot of discussion, certainly in my team, about CVs and the
yeah,
future of CVs,
yeah.
and do they still, are they becoming obsolete? Do they still have value, or is there a better way in which we can assess somebody's skills through different practices or alternative methods? So I know that I've had some discussions about or redacted CVs or no
Mm.
CVs at all, and it also depends on whether you're in-house recruitment team, if you're agency, if you're RPO, but also volume, if you're dealing with volume recruitment or if you're dealing with niche roles. So that's going to be, I think, quite an interesting ongoing debate, because I think one of the things with change, when you do any form of change, is how is your hiring managers going to react
Mm.
to maybe no longer having CV as one of their prerequisites. It's quite fearful. So
Mm.
I think that's really going to be a good, interesting debate. And I think I would like to continue discussing that point, because I think there is a better way than just a CV. And the
Yeah.
reason why I say this, I have worked with many senior people, and a lot of my friends are senior professionals, and I've seen their CVs and they're quite poor. And so, but I know that they're really great. They're fantastic at their craft.
Yeah.
So yeah, is there a place for CVs now, or are there a better way for assessing them?
It's a really great question. I totally agree. I think there's definitely a better way. I don't exactly know what it is. And I look at people's CVs, people I know, and I don't think it reflects what they're capable of doing.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
yeah.
The other thing is about what you said about candidates using AI.
Mm.
I was in a focus group about 6 months ago, and somebody on there announced to the group that they had just let go a data scientist who'd been in their team for 6 months, who had got the job on by using ChatGPT for all of their answers, and had successfully managed to do the job for a
Wow.
full 6 months.
Yeah.
And the only reason the company realized they actually had no foundational knowledge of the subject was that they were in a face-to-face meeting and there was a group of them in the room, and somebody said something to this individual who clearly couldn't respond with a proper answer because they were just going to be saying it out their brain and then out their mouth. Whereas,
Right.
so that's really, I mean, they hadn't detected that this person wasn't capable of doing the job without using ChatGPT, but that's how they were doing it, which I thought was
Wow.
incredible.
That's really interesting. And I think for me, there's a lot of discussion. People were saying, yeah, but we could really tell if somebody is being prompted by a co-pilot or a plugin that's working alongside the interview. And I think that's where the real skill from a recruiter stroke hiring
Yeah.
manager, that upskilling and that retraining, because talent, the way in which we assess people now is really changing at a really rapid rate. And so how do we really hone in on our own skills?
Yes.
And that's where the skill comes from, right? It's from probing. Yeah, anybody can open up with an you know, a competency-based main question, but how do you really drill down to ensure that they are truly able to demonstrate their skills and their knowledge and their experience within that interview? And that's
Yeah.
where we need to focus on.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. And that brings me nicely on to another topic, which I know, is a hot one for you. You think it's going to be important in 2025, and that is skills-based hiring. We've been talking
Yeah.
about it for the last few years, but
Mm.
I know that you've got some perspectives on this subject.
Yeah, I think for me, skills-based hiring is definitely going to be a hot topic. I read somewhere, I think it was the LinkedIn Global Report Trends, that they were saying that 75% of organizations now are adopting skill-based strategies
Yeah,
to combat talent shortages, you know, looking at internal mobility, looking at all traditional practices versus new practices.
yeah,
And I think that's quite a really good figure. 75% is quite a strong figure to
yeah,
say, and skills-based
yeah.
hiring is on the rise. So it's I can comment, even in our company at the moment, we're looking at skills-based hiring as part of our practices. And I think from a recruitment, and it warrants the whole HR ecosystem, right?
Yeah,
To encompass this as
yeah.
a fully formed practice. But I think the role of a talent acquisition person, like what's our role in that, and we're the gatekeepers, we're the first, we're the enablers, you know, from the application coming in. So we're the first people to see, you know, the talent coming in. So it's what does that mean to us for skills-based hiring? What does it look like? And it really is quite a broad subject, but in essence, it's about moving away from those traditional practices, which is things like not looking at somebody's education, not looking at how many years experience a person. And I think you and I have been in quite a debate online with some comments that's been on LinkedIn over the past several months about, what do you mean my 23 years experience counts for nothing? But that's not what we're saying. We're not saying it doesn't count for nothing, but it's broadening the net to allow, you know, everyone to have an opportunity, as long as they can demonstrate that they have that skill to be able to do that role. And that person might only have 5 years experience versus somebody who's got 20 years experience. But if that 5 year person with the experience demonstrates really strong, you know, capability, competence within the assessment criteria, well, then that person should be able to get the role, right? But if we had advertised for that role under traditional methods and saying you must have minimum of 10 years experience, that person wouldn't have gotten through the process.
Yeah.
And I think in line with talent shortages, where you're narrowing the field if you do that, whereas like with this approach you're broadening the field, so you get a lot more candidates through the process, you get a lot more diverse candidates through the process. So yeah, I'm really throwing myself into all these practices and doing a lot of coaching and a lot of presenting around skills-based hiring at the moment.
If I think about both of these topics, the one around AI, the one around skills-based hiring, so I do believe that there's certain tasks that recruiters, when you and I were recruiting,
Mm,
like as our sort of day job, I think there was probably quite a lot of things that we were doing then that you probably don't need to do now. We talked about, for example, better ways of evaluating CVs and how can AI help with that. And then there's probably certain things around skills-based hiring and other ways of achieving your tasks that
mm,
mean that recruiters are evolving from being getting the jobs filled to being more genuine business partners and consultants. And if I'm
yeah.
advising a hiring manager on skills-based hiring, I need quite a lot of background knowledge on the subject, and there's quite a few others as well. So, do you see this as well, that there's an evolution in talent acquisition from recruiters filling jobs to recruiters
Yeah.
doing a lot of other consultation?
Absolutely. I think for me, recruitment enablement is no longer a nice to have, but a
Yeah.
critical necessity. And we can talk about some of what those look like within a talent acquisition partner remit. For me, I think they need to be quite broad now, and I also think that the move from being transactional, which is about, you know, filling a role, to being more strategic is about, okay, well, how do I go from A to B? If I am transactional and you identify that you're quite transactional and your remit is fairly limited, how do I become more strategic? What does that look like in practice? And I think it really means if you apply this, you move from a good recruiter to a great recruiter.
Yeah.
You move from being a somebody who may get the job to put yourself in a better chance of actually getting the job.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I've been really passionate about this with my team. There's a lot of debate, and you can slice and dice this, Adam, in terms of how you build your team. You know, there's some on one side of the fence will say, well, we just have, you know, individuals who are experts within your function who are great at data analytics. And another person will be great at AI and leveraging technology. For me, that's great, that works. But I also want to say to my team, apply yourself in terms of being quite broad and learning these elements, because, you know, it will broaden their knowledge base, their competence into excuse me, in terms of being a tier partner. So yes, absolutely. I think for me, what some of the key things is leveraging technology, which includes AI. It's about embracing data and really understanding how you can analyze that data to make data-driven decisions. The other thing is hyper personalization. You know, what does that look like? We hear a lot in the workplace, and I'm really passionate also about candidate experience. And that's not just the candidate, but also stakeholders and hiring managers. It's that whole hyper personalization. Because I don't think in this modern day there's any reason why a person is ghosted and why they can't at least have some kind of communication, whether, you know, from receiving their application and taking them all the way through the process. We have got the technology now to be able to communicate with people, and so that hyper personalization for me is quite key. Yeah, so there's a lot going on in terms of that.
There absolutely is. Terri, thank you very much for sharing some of your thoughts. I think we need more time, maybe in a couple of months, and we'll talk about candidate experience in more detail and a couple of those other things. But big thanks for your time today to talk to us about this, and also thanks just in general for like sharing ongoing on LinkedIn and places like that, your comments on the industry. I think you're doing a great service with that, and yeah, great to see you. See you again soon.
Yeah, absolutely. We could have talked forever and a day, I think, Adam, about TA, because both of us are obviously very passionate about it. So yes, I think we'll need a part 2 and no doubt a part 3 as 2025 evolves and we see what the latest new challenges are evolving in our space. So yeah, no, thank you very much for having us. Appreciate it.
Great, look forward to it. See you soon.
Okay then, Adam, take care. Cheers. Bye.